It's Monday morning, and I have come once again for a walk in the beautiful Chaguaramas area. This morning, I am taking my walk alongside the Chaguaramas golf course. And while I'm taking that walk, I'm going to give you a little history of Chaguaramas. Let me give you a quick look at the golf course. And you see men out there already playing golf. Best time of the day to play golf, very early morning. And look how lovely and green that hillside is. When the British conquered Trinidad in 1797, their records showed that Chaguaramas was deeply into agriculture. There were, I believe it was 5 rum distilleries operating in Chaguaramas. 5 rum distilleries. There were a number of cotton mills, because between the peninsula of Chaguaramas and the islands off of Chaguaramas, cotton was grown. And then there were, of course, sugar mills operating in the area. And Chaguaramas continued to be an agricultural area even after the British conquest. That's not surprising, because most of Trinidad was agricultural areas. That was how how people made a living. That's how they earned foreign exchange. Whoops. Knew something was feeling odd. Have to bend down and tie my shoelaces. So let me do that and come back to you. Right, so I'm back. So yeah, I was saying that most of Trinidad, not just Chaguaramas, was devoted to agriculture, as that is how people earn their living, with many of the crops being exported. And we continue that way until, shall I say, the discovery of oil in Trinidad. Well, instead of looking at my face while I'm walking along, let me show you the golf course. Yeah, so I was saying that we continued as an agricultural driven economy until the discovery of oil. But what changed Chaguaramas more than anything was World War II. In World War II, as I had mentioned in a previous video, we had the Lend-Lease agreement between the British and the Americans, where in exchange for 50 destroyers, the US was given rights to establish military bases in various islands, Trinidad being one of them. And the US established a base in Chaguaramas. But they did more than just simply establish a base in Chaguaramas. They took over the entire peninsula. And stationed troops here in Trinidad. Now, one of the things about the US, which I believe they learned during World War II, and more so during the Vietnam War, was the importance of rest and relaxation for troops that were fighting in the war. And so troops would spend, particularly in the case of Vietnam, a number of weeks in the jungle, in combat, and then they would be rotated out and given a period of rest. Whether they stayed in the quote-unquote safer parts of Vietnam or went off to Thailand, and then after that period of rest, came back to go back and fight. But the US did this because they had worked out the effects of stress on the body. And stress has two effects. One is on the mental side, where the brain just can't function anymore. And nowadays you hear about post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. But stress also affects the body physically. That amount of adrenaline that's being pumped into the system all the time begins after a while to affect the body. Adrenaline and sodium. And the body begins to break down because of the stress. So the US identified that they had to rotate the troops periodically. And here in Chaguaramas, now, yes, we had a base, but for the most part, troops were not engaged in active combat. There weren't any Germans or Japanese on the island or attacking, although we did have Nazi submarines that did come around Trinidad and did sink a number of ships. And in one case, I believe, sailed into the harbor in Port of Spain and fired on the town. But really, we didn't really have Nazi troops for them to fight. But the US Army had decided that even the troop station here in Trinidad had to have some amount of rest. And so they took this part of Chaguaramas and built a 9-hole golf course. Just 9 holes, not 18. They took over approximately 94 acres and created this golf course. Today, well, the golf course is not owned by the US Army, but today the golf course is what is known as the only public golf course in Trinidad. Meaning anybody can come and play, but you have to pay, obviously, a fee each time you want to play, unless, of course, you're a member here. Now, I'm not really sure why that is simply the definition of a public golf course. Because at the other privately owned golf courses in Trinidad and Tobago, whether that's Millennium in Trin City or Mocha in Maraval or Plantations in Tobago or Mount Irvin in Tobago, you can go as an individual and pay what is known as a green fee, and you're allowed to play that one time. If you want to play again, obviously you have to pay another fee. So I'm not sure why we would say that because anybody can come here, we classify this as the only public golf course. But nonetheless, that is the classification. In creating this golf course, they took over what was a Tonka bean estate and converted it into a golf course. Now, as I said, the golf course was 94 acres. But at the time when the Americans took over Chaguaramas, there were approximately 1,000 acres planted in Tonka bean. 1,000 acres. Now, some people will say, what on earth was being done with all that Tonka bean? Well, people of my age generally knew tonka bean simply as something that children would pick up and eat when it was ripe. But tonka bean has commercial uses. Tonka bean is used in many of the creams and body lotions and perfumes that we use today. And so that 1,000 acres of tonka bean that were planted in Trinidad was being exported, earning foreign exchange, to pharmaceutical companies that were creating the perfumes and creams. And tonka bean is still used in the creation of perfumes and creams and lotions even to this day. It's also used as a spice in the cooking of food. Today, I don't know if there's a single tonka bean estate operating in Trinidad. I don't think there's a single one. Let's look at the other side of the golf course. Tractors operating early morning, cutting the fairway. There's some men over in the distance there, lining up for their shot onto the green. Ah boy, beautiful, nice, soft breeze blowing at this moment. In creating the golf course here, the Americans did not cut down all the tonka bean trees. And today, actually, along the Chaguaramas golf course is the only place that I know that you can get or easily find tonka bean. There are trees, and occasionally I've come here and found tonka bean underneath the trees. Then I get a little further down. I'm going to go in to a trail that runs on the side of the golf course and see if I can get one or two of the tonka bean trees and see if I find any tonka bean on the ground under the tree. Some years ago I had come here, picked up some tonka bean and carried it home for my neighbor's children. They had no idea what it was. None whatsoever. They just didn't know what tonka bean was. And I think that's because there aren't that many tonka bean trees around. So they had not been exposed to it. So in a while, when I reached the entrance to the trail, which incidentally is the trail that leads to Edith Falls, I'll go in there and see if I can find some tonka bean trees with tonka bean. Just so that those who have never seen tonka bean before will have an idea of what the fruit looks like. I'm going to go in on the trail because really if you're not playing golf, you're not supposed to be on the golf course. And I don't want to be on the golf course and be in the way of anybody or get hit in the head by a golf ball. So when I reach down and going on the trail, I'll come back on and show you. Okay, so here I am at the start of the trail to the Edith Falls. Yeah, well, let's say it takes you through a tonka bean plantation, more like a former tonka bean plantation. If I'm lucky, in addition to the tonka bean, I may see some howler monkeys or capuchin. Once or twice when I came here, there were howler monkeys in the bamboo. So maybe I'll get lucky. But I'm really looking for the tonka bean. have to hold the camera, but at the same time watch where I'm walking. So in a minute, I'll cut across to my left, because there are a number of tonka bean trees that line the golf course at that point. Not going up to the waterfall, just going up to the part where the tonka bean trees are. Should be coming up to that spot shortly. Yeah, I think just here is where I think I can cut across. Yeah, I think I can cut through here. Need to watch where I put my feet. Don't wanna get surprised by putting my foot next to some kind of snake. Real cool and nice underneath this bamboo. Really cool and nice. Interestingly, wonder how, or rather what is the correct spelling for tonka bean. Some people spell it T-O-N-K-A and some spell it T-O-N-C-A, tonka bean. Well, looking on the ground, not seeing any. Oh Lord, what's that hooked up on my foot? Right. Looking and not seeing any. I think this might be the wrong time of year to look for tonka bean fruit, because I was watching the trees as I was walking along the roadway, and they're all seeming to have flowers. So I may have come at the wrong time to look for the tonka bean fruit. Well, if I don't find any here on the ground, I can always go on the internet, get 1 or 2 pictures, and insert that in the video to show you. Yeah, doesn't look like I'm going to find any. Or maybe if there were or are fruit, the same guys who are cutting the fairways are probably picking it up. But I should show you what the tonka bean tree looks like close up. These right here, along the edge of the golf course. I'm directly underneath one. And even those trees that you see line the fairway over there, all those are tonka bean trees. All right, let me stick to the edge, because I'm seeing some men over there lining up to their shot to land on the green. And not every golfer is accurate enough to land their shot on the green. Some of them overpitch the shot and land after the green. I don't want to get hit in my head. All right, but let me look across on this side to see if I'm lucky to find even one. Yeah. No such luck. I'll have to go on the internet and get a picture there to show you. Well, I'm not going to go back through the bush. I didn't find any tonka bean, and I didn't see any monkeys this morning. So I'm going to cut through on the side. And see that tee box over there? I just go around the edge of the tee box and get back on the road itself. For those who are not familiar, here is the fruit of the tonka bean tree. Here are photos of howler monkeys that I saw on a previous walk heading to Edith Falls. I had decided to extend my walk a little bit because, well, I'm feeling good this morning and I didn't find that I had walked enough, and realized there's something else that I should tell you about. Now, I don't know if this is a actual fact, but it's something I feel is the case. If you look here, the area I'm in is on that road that runs to the, what do I call this? The north of the golf course. If you look on the sides of the road, the land is swampy, or some will say marshy. Let me walk up a little bit and show you. If you look through there, you see, it's low-lying land with water. Let me come to the other side and show you. Here you can see it even better. I'll go up in a little bit. See, it's stagnant water. So stagnant that moss is growing on the surface of the water. It's swampy. So I suspect that to create at least part of this golf course, I suspect the Americans had to fill the land. I know from reading various historical accounts that the U.S. forces had done a lot of what they call mosquito eradication, filling land, in some cases, spraying, coating the surface of the water to kill the mosquito larvae. So, watch, all through, if you can make it out in between, you see the stagnant water? So I suspect that at least for part of the area, the Americans would have had to fill in the land to get rid of that stagnant water. As I say, I don't know it for a fact, but I strongly believe that's the case. I had come along here hoping to find or see along here capuchin monkeys, but I wasn't so lucky. But at least it gave me the chance to show you that. The other day, I had driven through here. See, all here is still swampy. The other day, I had driven through here, and on the drive, heard a noise, stopped, and looked up. And there was a capuchin in the trees. Well, not that lucky today. But even as I walk along, well, you can't really see it too well here, but all behind us, these valleys is swamp. Although I did not get to see the monkeys on the day that I made this video, approximately 10 days later, I came back to repeat the walk. And as luck would have it, that morning there was a troop of monkeys coming through the trees, and I managed to capture it with the phone. So enjoy the sight of the Capuchin monkeys. Hey. Some of you may ask, why do I keep coming back to Chaguaramas to have my walk? Well, one of the reasons is because it's peaceful and quiet without a lot of heavy traffic in the morning. But the other reason also is that Chaguaramas is full of history. And so it's an area where I can walk and share some of my knowledge of the history of the area. If you like history, I have a playlist on this channel that is dedicated to history, videos with historical content. Please take the time to explore that playlist. And if you don't go there, let me wait for the bus to pass. And if you don't go there to the historical playlist, please select one of the videos that is appearing on your channel now, or not on your channel, that is appearing on your screen now, which will show 2 of my videos that you may find of interest.